because I cannot get it to stream. Once again, the streaming software is just not working well with it's not playing well with Zoom. Unfortunately, this happens on occasion, but today's another day. So those people that were waiting to watch it live, you might as well have been in the room. And now you're gonna have to watch it pre-recorded, but we'll be live right now, although you won't be able to tell. So welcome to this is the 119th meeting of the Roundtable, and it's pretty cool. And I'm really excited about it. 120, so next week will be 120. So let's see, so 52 weeks in a year. We've been doing it more than 2 years. Am I right? Is that correct math? Brian?
Yes.
Thank you. That's it. So it's been over 2 years that we've been doing this. And so yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I can't even remember when it was, but I had a lunch meeting with some friends who are normally in the room, and they came to me and they said to me, you know what would make the show better? And I said, well, I don't know. I know what I think would make better. And he says, oh, you're too funny. He says, you're too funny. He says, you need to be more serious. And I said, well, the whole concept of the show was when things were going through COVID and everybody was so depressed, and I wanted to bring a little bit of joy and enlightenment into everybody's mind and bring a group of like-minded people together so that they can enjoy themselves and have a good time, and maybe for a little while forget about what your problems were. And I still believe that that's the truth, because now a lot of us are really super busy, and the stress of being busy and having to figure out what we're going to be doing, so I might as well bring a little levity into your lives, and just remember whatever we discussed today. And by the way, you guys have brilliant minds. I love the way you think. Everyone in this room always brings something to the table, something unique, a different point of view, and it's usually fascinating and interesting in most cases. You have to be the judge of what's fascinating and interesting, as Michael would say, but that's the way it is. The other thing is just remember, everything you hear today is an opinion. And welcome to the 119th episode. Today we're having a little trouble streaming, and I was late to the meeting because we're moving the office, or at least I'm moving the office, and I'm moving out. Tina's still be working at the office, and we're looking for bigger and better places. And then tomorrow, for those people, tomorrow I'm on a plane back to Thailand, and I will be there, but I'm not going to be there. I'm not going to be there as long as I was this time around. There's no way that I'm going to spend the full year again outside the country. I really need to be back here within 3 months. So, but the question is, look at the calendar, guys. I want to be in Thailand with Bo. Bo, for those who don't know, Bo's my girlfriend, for New Year's, Christmas and New Year's. And so the window of moving back and forth is very difficult. And now, did you guys know that the main hubs in Asia are closed? Like Hong Kong is closed for transit. Beijing is closed for transit. Shanghai is closed for transit. And so that adds a lot of pressure to the other hubs. I couldn't get out of Korea. I could get to Korea, but I couldn't get out. I could get to Narita, but I couldn't get out of Narita. I had to go to, what's that other airport that you'd have to take a train from Narita to in Japan? David, you remember the name of it?
Oh,
Begins with an H.
There you go. Begins with an A. We'll just call it the H airport.
yeah.
And somebody can look it up real quick. But that's, but the best route to go to Thailand from here is through Singapore. And Singapore is waitlisted now all the way through November. If you go up onto to buy a ticket, it's all waitlisted now till somewhere in November on Singapore Airlines, because that's the most direct flight to Thailand from the United States. You basically fly. I'm probably giving you more information than you possibly could ever use unless you're going to Thailand. But Singapore, from Los Angeles or San Francisco, it's only 11 and a half hours flight. And then you spend the night in Singapore, which is a wonderful city. Then you get on a plane in the morning, which is an hour and a half flight to Phuket, and boom, you're in Thailand. And so it's really cool. It's very
Yeah, I'd
cool.
rather do Narita though.
Yeah. So
7-hour flight.
anyway, to make you guys feel old, if you could remember this, I believe that if I look at my notes, it was 25 years ago today that Princess Diana left the planet. And so, it's amazing how what kind of mark she left on the planet. What a great human being, or from the outward looking in, she really seemed to appear to be a really amazing human being and added a lot of good things to the planet. It's a shame that, what do they say? Only the good die young,
Brother
Yes,
Billy.
that's what they say.
That's what they say. So speaking of the good, about a month ago, that lottery ticket that the guy won, that Mega Millions, he won $3.4 billion.
Yeah.
No one has ever claimed it. No one has ever claimed it. I mean, could you imagine how you would feel if you knew you bought the ticket and you lost it, or your dog ate it, or something happened, and you knew it was your ticket and you can't claim it?
Or you
Oh
start
my God.
and creating a foundation and
Yeah.
roll a smart.
Because with that kind of money, I'd be going through a.
Yeah, and then that would take at least 2 to 3 months in order for you to claim it.
Yep.
He has a year, so
He does have a year. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, what is he going to do if the dog ate it?
Well,
keep his job as a janitor.
I'll tell you, if I had that kind of money, I would have won the auction at Sotheby's. By the way, Sotheby's, or actually it was Heritage Auction, not Sotheby's. Mickey Mantle baseball card from 1952 sold for auction at $12.6 million. So I mean that's, but it's, I'm just, I guess who could do that, I mean, did you hear now about these NFTs things that people are now being robbed for their NFTs? This is a crazy story.
What's an NFT?
they get virtually robbed.
It's a non-fungible token. Basically, what it is it's an ownership of something, whatever it might be, and people are buying these NFTs, which I think is just it's like the king's new clothes. He's not wearing anything, and basically, but they're spending huge amounts of money, and now they're finding out people are getting ripped off for their imaginary tokens, which is crazy.
Yeah, go figure.
Yep. Go figure. I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. Do you know that it's illegal now? Right now, they just passed a law in New York that you have to be over 21 to buy a can of whipped cream in New York City.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, they say because teens are and I tell you something. I had a girlfriend once many years ago, and I hated it. I would buy the 3 cans from Costco. It was like $8 for 3 cans, and then I come home and I go try to put the whipped cream in. There would be no nitrous left in the cans. While I was gone, she was snorting the nitrous out of the cans, and that ruins the whipped cream. It's horrible, I tell you.
Is that a true story?
That is well, might be, maybe not.
But that's what's happening in New York right now.
Yeah, a lot of my stories sound unbelievably too unbelievable to be true. So
Yeah.
you want to feel really old?
Again?
It was 50 years ago that the Hard Rock Cafe opened,
Again.
and now they're all over the place. 50 years ago, the Hard Rock opened, and now have you seen what they're going to do at the Hard Rock here in Las Vegas? I believe they bought the Mirage, right?
Yep.
And they're
So
going to tear it down.
Big guitar.
Say that again?
They're gonna mimic the other one they have, the hotel, a huge guitar.
Yeah,
hotel.
they're going to make it look like the hotel is going to be multiple stories high, and they're going to make it look like a guitar. It's going to be wide on the bottom with a guitar and then going up in the neck. So that's what they're doing. Pretty cool.
The Hard Rock you're talking about?
Yeah.
The Hard Rock,
Yeah.
in Fort Lauderdale is built that way. It's already a car-shaped building.
Oh, I never got to see it.
Yes, in Florida. That's correct.
You can't miss it because Florida is flat, so you can see it like 20 miles away. It's the shape of an acoustic guitar.
Yeah, absolutely. I've never seen it, but I saw pictures of what they're going to do in Las Vegas. It's pretty cool. It's more than cool. So,
Just that Las Vegas isn't cool anymore.
well, today it was 115 degrees in the shade. It was like amazingly hot. I went outside and I felt like what an ant must feel like when a kid has got a magnifying glass beaming the sun right on the ant. It was so hot. It was amazingly hot and dry too. You felt like you were gonna, be combustible. You were gonna just go poof. You're gonna start on fire. That's how hot it was. It was amazingly hot here. How's the weather where you guys are?
Hot in LA.
Yeah, it's 105.
Yeah. What about the weather? Steve, you were talking about the weather. What's happening there?
First time in quite a few years, no hurricanes in August. But not to say we haven't had our share in September.
Right.
It's always a wait and see game.
Right. So now how do you prepare for a hurricane that's not coming?
I don't.
Well, that's what's gonna bring you a hurricane.
First, I make sure I eat up all the shrimp and fish out of the freezer so it doesn't go to waste.
Right.
So, boudin lunch.
Does anybody know anybody in Jackson? What's going on in Jackson?
Mississippi,
Is it Jackson, Mississippi, or Missouri? I believe it's Missouri.
No, it's Mississippi.
Jackson, Mississippi.
Oh, what's going on?
Jackson, Mississippi.
They've been having problems with their water for the last 10 years.
Wait a second. That's Kevin Smith, ladies and gentlemen. That's Kevin Smith. I recognize him. Hello, Kevin.
Hey. Yeah, for 10 years they've been having real bad problems down there, and it's just around the city of Jackson. The suburbs are not suffering like that.
Their water treatment plant went underwater last week
Absolutely.
again, and that was the last straw. It wiped all the equipment out. So they don't even have enough water. They can't produce enough water at the moment to fight a house fire.
Yeah, and not only that, their water is contaminated. They can't drink water.
They can't drink the water. They can't get water pressure into the water towers. FEMA has sent in several fire tanker trucks. They do have a fire so that they can go with tanker brigades to neighboring communities to get water.
Well, what are they? Yeah, I was gonna say, what are they doing for regular water though? Drinking water, taking a bath, whatever.
The firehouses have now been turned into drive-through water distribution points that they're handing out bottles of water, and then that they've gotten somebody to get 5-gallon containers of water to flush toilets. It's non-culinary water, but it's water that's safe to use to flush toilets. And then they're working to go into other communities to set up showers somewhere. So,
What about the Waffle House? Do they offer showers there?
well, the Waffle House is probably on cold food or shut down. That would be so Jan, you're gonna have to finish that up because that was before we started the recording.
Yep.
But you have to bathe your babies in bottled water. You have to brush your teeth in bottled water. You have to wash your hands you can't do anything without bottled water. So they're giving out cases and cases and cases of bottled water.
And they're running out.
I knew I went into the wrong business. How did I go into this? I should have went into the bottled water business. Man, that is a business, but they're giving it away for free now, right? So, hey, what good? I'd be broke.
My understanding is that 2 or 3 of the breweries and soft drink manufacturers are running 24-hour shifts of just producing water and putting it in generic cans or bottles to ship down there.
Yeah. Now, what about their communications? What about the communication system? Have they lost communications? Have they lost self-communications? Have they lost?
No.
What have they lost? What about electricity?
My understanding, Jan, is that the water treatment plants were near 2 reservoirs, and they got flooding from that storm that went through about 10 weeks ago. And as the water moved down the river, the water treatment facilities went underwater. And when they came back out, they were running so frail to start with. They had nothing backed up to kick in to start pumping water. So the pumps went bad, everything went bad. So they can't even pressurize lines right now. So they're trying to, and they say it could 6 months in order to get equipment and gear in there to.
So how did the city and county managers not know this and do something about it
They
ages
didn't
ago.
care. They knew it and they didn't care. They've had this problem for a decade and did not care to fix it because it didn't affect anybody outside the city of Jackson.
And they just kept kicking the can down the road.
That community already is kind of a powder keg, and you want to throw something like this their way?
I mean,
It's
how
gonna
did
get
Detroit
stupid.
go? How did Detroit go for years with lead pipes distributing the water? I mean, until it
What-
becomes a national issue, nobody wants to deal with it.
Well, and nobody wanted to deal with Flint when
Yeah.
Not Flint, not Detroit.
Yeah.
You're right,
when
Flint.
and that was a political decision based
Yeah.
upon money.
Yep, it's always about money.
That system over it all.
Well, it's always about money because the international corporations have so much money, they're controlling the government. I mean, it's without getting too political, because it's very political, but the reality is that the big money is controlling the way we live our lives today.
What?
That's all there
Blackwater
is
is
to it.
running the government? What?
I mean,
Stop
I see it because I've been in Thailand for a year. I see just the difference in the medical system on how the insurance companies have really messed up our healthcare. And by the way, for the first time and since they started recording the age groups, now Americans are not living as long as they used to.
Second year.
Advised.
Yeah, then we're not living as long as we used to, I mean, what does that mean for me? That's what I want to know. What does it mean to me? But maybe there'll be less people and I'll fool them. I'll be one of those people that live a long time.
To take into account is that they go by how old Americans are before they die. We just had a pandemic. And that's a big reason why that number has gone down. It's because people have been dying younger because they've been getting sick. Once this pandemic, goes into our rearview mirror, that number will go back up again.
Well, here in Vegas, you can't tell there was ever a pandemic. It just doesn't appear that way here. Wherever you go, there are no masks. I'm the only one usually wearing a mask. And if I go into a place where, like, for example, I was at the doctor's office today, and which basically the medical system here is definitely broken, but the technology of it is better. Today I had an 8 o'clock appointment. So I sign in and I see 3 other people had an 8 o'clock appointment with the same doctor. How is it possible that he could see 3 people at the same time? He can't. So I sat in a waiting room. Where else? What seriously, where else would you go to have a meeting at the X hour? Let's say at 10 o'clock and the meeting doesn't take place until 11:30, or 11 o'clock, and the guy is, well, you wouldn't do business with a person like that. But doctors are different.
Think about the airlines, because they're overbooking also for the same reason.
Yep.
Expect people to not show up on time.
I didn't know that.
Well, that's
Thank
why-
God I'm not in the Monty Python Search for the Holy Grail. I would be out of here now. Boy.
Well, that's why they're always offering people money to give up their tickets. It's because they overbooked.
Mm.
And if
Yep.
you were in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, you would be the guy that loses his arms and his legs and is still sitting there trying to fight.
Yes, it's just a surface scratch, That's it.
Come back here.
Flesh wound.
I could still spit on you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I'll bite you to death.
But yeah, the whole thing is look at you talk about Jackson, but what about Fukushima? Now, 11 years ago, that was Japan's worst nuclear disaster, and now they're starting to repopulate this area. Basically, of course, that was because it was a 9.0 earthquake, but still, nonetheless, it was a major, nuclear accident. And so I think it's pretty amazing that now they're able to move people back in to that area without them glowing. It's you look amazing. You're glowing. It's like
Oh man, I knew you were gonna work that in. I knew you were.
But don't worry, because Ukraine will make up for it.
Yeah, well, that's pretty. They're in there now. They're in there now.
Don't do that to us, Kevin. Come on.
Yeah, no, they're in there now. I have a feeling that they're not insane. I feel, I just don't feel they're insane. So I don't think I think that that's going to be pretty safe. I'm hoping for the best. But right now, what they're doing, right now there is a race right now to change everything into fusion power rather than fission power. And a lot of companies are now really getting closer and closer to developing that technology, although it's still going to be 10, 20 years from now before they actually have something that's usable. But I saw a really interesting article in Fast Company about the forerunners in the $1 trillion race for limitless fusion power, and Tina will throw that link into the chat. It's pretty cool. It's a very cool article about where we stand. And if you think electric is really the way to go, the DeLorean, have you seen the new DeLorean Alpha 5 electric car?
Yeah,
Anybody?
doesn't look like a DeLorean.
It doesn't look like a DeLorean. I think it's really cool. It doesn't look anything like the DMC-12, but it's beautiful.
What they said is that there was a 4-seater DeLorean being built in prototypes and a bunch of prototypes that they never made, and that this DeLorean is closer looking to that than the DM-12.
Yeah, if you want to see it, we put a link in the chat. Tina put a link in the chat on that as well. So I mean, anyway.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I mean, and the other thing is, because it's now coming down, the California regulators, they voted Thursday to ban new gas cars by 2035, starting with 2026 models, 35% of the new cars.
Wait a minute. I don't know. They didn't vote that in.
Yep,
The
they
governor,
voted on it.
the governor signed it in.
It was last Thursday they voted to ban new gas car sales by 2035,
The
starting with
Assembly voted it. The Assembly voted it, not the residents.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, right. Anyway, starting with 2026 models, 30% of new cars, SUVs, and small pickups sold in the state would be required to be zero-emission vehicles. So, I mean, electricity is definitely a thing that people are, and I read this really interesting article about right now about power and water, because the water shortage that we have all over this country is also the way they cool down the plants with water and dams, and they're running out of water. This could be a big challenge.
So the other thing that I read today is that the Electric Commission in California has told people not to charge their electric vehicles over this weekend because of the heat wave.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And the tests that they did in California on running their whole grid on renewable energy was 4.8 seconds. That's it. That's the longest that they ran it. And turn around, oh, congratulations, it's great. It's what? No, they ran it off peak, in weather conditions that were like 72 degrees everywhere, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it was not a real test by any stretch of the imagination at all.
How unusual that would be.
Nah.
But Amazon's doing their part. They Ford and Amazon invested in that company called Rivian. Are you familiar with that Rivian car? Yep. Rivian truck? And Amazon just invested like $1.3 billion in buying electric vehicles, and they're gonna bring their whole fleet into electric cars. So I believe that they bought a lot of their stock. I read something that Rivian went down and they lost like $300 billion overnight or something like that, which is crazy. It's crazy, so, but the electric is coming. I mean, things are changing. I mean, did you guys read that T-Mobile is going to team up with SpaceX, and so that they can now have satellite phone service everywhere in the United States? They're going to team up with T-Mobile. T-Mobile and SpaceX is so that you can have both ground cellular service, and if you can't get good coverage, it'll secondary it from the satellite. I don't know how they do it, but
I can't imagine Elon wanting to give that up like that.
Well, T-Mobile's pretty amazing, I have to tell you. Except for their home Wi-Fi, it seems. Brian, are you still on T-Mobile?
Nope.
Wrong.
I gave them up.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought about it, but when I saw your experience, I said, I can't take the chance on that. David, what do you have said? What were you thinking?
That everything was okay.
What do you mean everything's okay?
He's on the phone.
Oh, well, there you go. A more interesting conversation than we're having here. All right, I'm glad.
Oh.
What's going on with where is Shimon today?
He's on the phone and he can't get in, number one. And number two, I had turned my mic off and it turned itself back on again. So
Oh, the interesting thing is the room is unlocked right now, so Shimon should be able to get in with no problem whatsoever. Let me just make sure of that. Let me just make sure that there is no
Not capitalizing the password, is he?
No, I don't know what it is, because he just seems to, it could be that he's using VPN, and maybe that's keeping him from getting in.
Yeah, maybe.
Very interesting man, Shimon. Very interesing man.
Well, the problem I had was
Oh,
Zoom,
Ken Porter's in the room, ladies and gentlemen.
Zoom had updated had done a download, whatever, and it wouldn't let me in until I downloaded and reset password.
Yep. Did that to me 2 weeks ago.
I didn't know that. So there's something that we should all talk about. There you go. Reset your password. By the way, what is your password, Ken? Don't worry about it. I won't share it with anybody. I promise. That's it. I won't share that password. Is it is it like Spectrum, Spectrum 1, 2, 3?
And Landy is a schmuck.
God bless his soul, right? God bless his soul. That's what you say. That's what you say. God bless his soul. That Jan Landy. What a nice guy he is. So anybody watch the Artemis rocket take off this week?
didn't take off.
It didn't take
That's
off.
why I guess you didn't watch it. That's right. That's it. But is that not amazing that they're actually going to put this rocket ship up in the air? It's going to be NASA's first return to the moon in 50 years. 50 years. And basically what they want to do, they think that there's water up on the poles of the moon. And the idea is that's what they want to make their base station. So if they can get water up there, then they could turn that into hydrogen, and then they could have a space station up there where, I mean, the goal is to go to Mars for some reason. I don't quite understand why, what they see in Mars.
Well, you want to know what my theory is?
Sure.
Of all the planets, it's the most inhabitable. So if we're ever going to have to get off this Earth, that's the place we're going to have to do it to. There's no place else.
Well, this is just one universe. There are multiple universes. I'm sure there are other places.
Yeah, but we can't get to those yet.
It's
Not reasonably.
hundreds of years, thousands of years to get to the next places. If it's not this solar system, we're not getting to it.
I hate to say it, guys, but I don't think any of us are going to make it there.
I'm having a hard time just getting to Thailand. What are you talking about, man? It's crazy.
I don't think we have that much time.
I mean, I think the idea, like if you watch Star Trek and you see how many of the things that they had in Star Trek that are reality today, did you guys, like the communication devices, for example, I can't wait for them to do the beaming me up business. I want to be beamed up somewhere. I mean, that would be the greatest form of travel.
Yeah, and you come back with an arm coming out of your head and your heart on the outside. Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah.
Well, what the hell? What can I say?
You only live once, right?
Yeah.
Well, you imagine being the guy volunteered to get transported like that for the next 5 years just so they can do this study on what the effects to the human body are of it.
Oh, he won't volunteer. He'll be volunteer to be a prisoner out of the prison system somewhere.
Well, they'll start with
nothing to lose.
They'll start with mice. Let's go with that.
They got nothing to lose.
No, you know what they're going to do? They're going to go to people who are terminally ill. That's what they're going to do. You're terminally ill. You're going to do something for humanity. It's a good thing. And I think,
if they could transport people like that, I wonder if they could transport them and take the cancer out in the middle of transportation, in the middle of doing that. That way, when they come, when they land where they're going, the cancer's out, the cancer's gone.
Yeah,
That
that
would
would
be
be good. That would be a good thing. Are you got anybody in the room familiar with Bill Hicks?
Yeah.
Bill Hicks, the comedian.
Yeah.
He was a really funny guy and very dark on. And one of his ideas, one of his comedy bits, was that he felt that they should use terminally ill cancer patients for extras in the movies. And that when they had a war scene or whatever, they actually blow these people up, kung fu, boom, kick grandma's head off, and that kind of stuff. He does it a lot funnier than I am, but I thought it was a good idea. Get your granny in the movie. That's the whole concept of it. Hey, there's Granny. Oh,
Her on screen. What a lovely gesture for grandma.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Exactly. I
make her a movie star. That's it.
You're not making any friends right now, Jen.
No.
Well, then, if that's the case, then let me bring up the next subject here, and without being political, we're going to just keep it as how you feel personally, but not Democrat, Republican, Independent, just how you feel personally. This thing with the student loan for giving $20,000 people. And basically, I don't know if you know do you guys know what Pell Grants are? So Pell Grants, I couldn't qualify for a Pell Grant anyway, because you had to be poor anyway, But it just seems to me that they tracked me down. I didn't want to pay my student loan. They tracked me down for years before they found me and made me pay that student loan, But I ended up having to pay my student loan. And I just think that, I don't know why I feel like if I had to pay it off, everybody should have to pay it off.
Well, my question is,
why can't we get our money back that who paid off our student loan?
Well,
Well, they're
first,
not handing the money out. They're not giving them the money. They're just
I
saying,
know.
no,
you don't
but
have to
it's
pay.
coming
And these are
from
federal
somewhere.
loans.
how much did
Coming-
college cost when you went to college?
There you go.
It's 10 times more expensive now.
There.
So
Right,
you
but
need, like people need.
Where's that money going? Where's that money coming from? What are they taking it from? What program are they taking it from?
Well, that's the problem. They're not taking it from anywhere. That it's not assigned anywhere. It's just money they're going to just forgive because it's already
Right,
been
but some
given
of
out. And
that
they're
money
gonna,
has to
No, you
come out of
can't.
some bucket.
There's a bank somewhere that said, yeah,
Government's
well,
printing it.
They just came out today and said they just came out today on the news that if you are wanting to get your student loan paid off, you still have to pay anywhere from $500 or $1,000 in taxes. You're not getting that money for free. You still have to pay taxes on that. 10,000
yeah, I
or
mean,
20,000.
look,
Yeah,
the
but that's not
reality
what
So
it
is,
you're not really getting your student loan paid off. But I mean, that's the thing is, I have a lot of friends
that's
that went
not what
through
I'm
college.
asking. I want to know where the money is coming from
From me and
to
you.
offset
It's
that
gonna-
with
it's-
the bank.
well,
it's
it's
gonna
not the
come from our
bank.
taxes.
It's not the bank. It's the federal government. The federal government.
No,
It's-
but
it's
the
gonna come
banks
out
own
of-
those-
it's-
The banks own those loans. The
Yeah,
banks own the loans and they're guaranteed by the federal
absolutely.
government.
Yeah,
But the thing of it is they're gonna get the money from everybody else that's paying taxes. That's what's gonna happen.
No,
I have
no,
a friend of
well,
mine that-
okay,
But
yes,
the president doesn't have the authority to spend money, new money. He has to take that money out of some other program, which is what Michael's trying to say. What's that program that he's taking it from? He can't spend the money. Money has to originate spending from the Senate.
Yep.
Actually, it's the Congress. The Congress had
It's gotta go through.
the House
it's
of
gotta go through
Representative.
Congress and Senate.
The House of Representative is the
Okay, so
the
House
bookkeeper of
starts
the
all
government.
funding. You're right. House starts all funding. What
but
he's done is he hasn't gone through Congress to get this money. So that's money has to come from some bucket. And he hasn't identified which bucket it's coming from yet.
Okay.
No, I agree with that, but that's not the point. That's not the point of this discussion of where the money's coming from. Just how do you feel about it? I mean,
It's bull. It's bribery. It's,
It is.
No, it's not. No,
and
hold
I
on,
paid
give
my
Kevin a
loan.
chance. We keep stepping on Kevin. Give Kevin a chance.
you have to understand $20,000 off a $50,000 loan, $10,000 off of a $60,000 loan. Well, where are the people that the politicians who are getting PPP loans for millions of dollars, and they're not, and their loans are being forgiven?
well, hold on. You're mixing apples and oranges in regards to that.
But the other part is I paid my student loans back. I paid
Yes.
my $100,000 in student loans back.
Yeah, that's
So
my point.
Where's my thing coming from?
Yeah. Well,
And
once
I don't agree that they should have. issued the PPP loans or forgiven them. I mean, I couldn't participate in that. So I'm getting screwed twice in the.
Well,
in the
I got to
last
tell
4
you, the
years.
PPP loan I thought was amazing. That was it. I don't know where they got the money from, and who cares?
Okay,
Steve,
no.
Steve, did you put the money
I
up?
care because those kind of things should be voted on. Okay, we should all be able to vote whether we want PPP loans, whether we want these things forgiven and all that kind of stuff. Okay.
Well, I
We should be
voted
able to
for it. I
vote
said,
on
yes,
that.
I'll take it. And then Bank of America really screwed me over, man. That's when they that's when they closed my accounts, and the fraud department of Bank of America jumped all over me. And then, but the loan forgiveness department, they stepped in and said, no, you didn't commit fraud. And it was basically, I remember really well because I got X amount of money, and then I moved, and I didn't move the whole amount. I only moved the big X. In other words, if it was like, let's just say, for argument's sake, I think it was $26,500. I only moved 26,000, and that signified fraud for them. And that's when the whole thing came down. I don't remember the exact amount, but man, that was a nightmare for me for that PPP loan. But nonetheless, it really helped us out a lot because we weren't making a lot of money at that point in time, and it helped a lot of people out. But look at a company like, let's just say, that company in Lidditz, where they got tens of millions of dollars.
There you go.
I mean,
and
they-
then they have to pay it back. That's my whole point. So
But
the kids that those loans are being forgiven for, they have, like my daughter, she's got $70,000 worth of debt on those cards. Well, 10,000, fine, okay. She's not getting 20 because she's not in that department. But 10,000.
but did she get a Pell Grant? Because it's only Pell Grants.
no, it's not only Pell. It's not only Pell Grants. It's loans. Pell Grants you don't pay back to start with. That's a grant. It's a government grant, so you never repay a Pell Grant.
Unless you drop out of school or something like that, then
Right.
you got to pay it back.
Okay, but
There's also a bunch of schools that went bankrupted or fraud or whatever, in their degrees was worthless or their hours didn't credit. So they have been forgiven for that.
Here's an analogy. You're in jail because you had pot in your state, and now they want to make pot legal. Now, are you going to complain that you're in jail for it, so everybody should have to go to jail for it? Or are you going to say, okay, make it legal and let me out?
there you go.
But how far back do you go before you start forgiving? So, I mean,
Dude, either way, I think this is a slippery slope. And
Well,
It's a very slippery slope.
our government's just printing money like it's going out of style. And we're
Wait,
going to pay
that we
the
don't
price
have.
for it.
Wait a minute. The last president, his biggest deal was to give a huge tax break to the ultra rich, to the top 2%.
Well, it's not just the old president. It's happening right now. It just happened in the new budget that this carried interest is only for the mega rich. It's only for the mega
Hold on,
rich.
Kevin, how do you correlate though a tax break with printing more money? That's the very definition of inflation.
Always printed more money. That's where you get inflation from.
and the tax break took away the money, so
They've
they have
always
to print.
printed more money.
They have to print money when they lose money from taxpayers.
So the other part to this is Congress and the legislative and executive branch, when the courts ruled that they could collect taxes, was that the taxes had to be evenly distributed back to people. It was not to take money from one group and give to another group. The taxes were only supposed to be collected to fund the very basic operation of the government.
And
And
guess
we have gotten so far away from that court ruling that it's not even funny.
Well, yeah, because Congress was only supposed to be a volunteer position. It wasn't supposed to be a full-time job. It was just supposed to be, and that's why you vote for congressmen every 2 years. It wasn't supposed to be a full-time job. But these guys have made it full-time jobs somehow,
for that matter.
You
And,
know?
and the presidency, and look what the last guy tried to do to stay there.
Well, like I said, I don't want to get into politics, and that by talking about the last guy, you immediately go to politics. So let's, he's going to get his comeuppance, he's going to get everybody, there's such a thing as karma, and everybody, you somewhere when you throw up the ball, it comes down somewhere. It might
Hey,
not come
don't
down where you
park
want
your
it to, but
karma
it
on
comes
my
down.
dogma.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, dogma. That's it.
My God.
That would be a good name for a sound company, Dogma Sound. That's it.
Can I go back to
Yes.
the reason we ended up with debt and all the stuff with the school? The issue is going back up until prior to like the 70s. Most of the universities are all nonprofit. A lot of them were religious based and stuff like that. And it was, basically helpful, at that point. They started rolling in the 80s, rolling in price increases. And instead of raising money, and they started dropping their college, they raised tuition, and they cut down the amount of money they were raising for scholarships, and started building large endowments, and then rolling that, and they were able to keep people going. They rolled it into a thing that it needs to be low interest and raising rent rates, and also made it to where you can't, if the person goes bankrupt, they still don't get rid of their loan. It still follows them on that. What they should do now, because then you end up with a lot of equity and private equity, a lot of money investing, and they're building a lot of buildings, and some of these universities are paying pretty outrageous monies for presidents and stuff like that. First, the problem we have in the country is we need to get rid of the 13th grade. That first year of university is mostly stuff that you're repeating from high school, and you don't need to do that. Europe does only 3-year degree programs, and they don't do the 13th grade because they're already done with it. The second part of it is that the colleges have been pushing things that come to my university. You'll make so much money when you get out, you pay off your loan in no time. The problem is, if you go through an education degree, you're only going to get X amount of dollars when you come out, no matter where you work. It's not going to be increased by what school you're by or anything like that. You also need to come up with the degree program has to be in relationship to what the government says is the average purchase of that person. And then it shouldn't just have the point where they cannot leave school without a certain percentage of debt. And then the university has to guarantee the debt, because the university then in interest, because followed money, that's where they got the money went.
Oh, there you have it. The answer to all our problems. And we haven't. I just figured it out.
So they made colleges big business, just like they did hospitals. Yay.
Correct.
Yeah,
So,
well, there's no good
equity.
answers anymore. There's no good answers, only good questions. I think that's it. I think there's just good questions and no more good answers.
Are you a real Cubs fan, or you just wearing that hat?
I'm not wearing a hat.
No, I'm
No,
talking
I'm a real Cubs fan. I'm a real Cubs fan.
That's it. We're out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And I live in Wisconsin, so I get crap all the time.
Red Sox fans or something? What are y'all talking about?
But don't you have the Brewers up there?
Well, Milwaukee does, but if he's wearing a Cubs cap, he must be a Cubs fan.
Cubs fan, and I'm from Wisconsin. I'm an hour north of Milwaukee.
Unbelievable. Shouldn't you be a fan of the Brewers then?
Well, I'm a Packers fan for football. I will not support the Bears.
All right, there you have it.
Right.
There you have
But I'm
it.
a Cubs fan
For
for
you,
football.
my friend, you wouldn't have the Packers if it wasn't for the Bears.
And yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. That's for sure.
It's the oldest rivalry. It's the oldest, best rivalry in the NFL, they say.
Yes, and
Yes.
made so by the Chicago Bears, not by the Packers.
The coldest I've ever been in my life was when I went to see a Bears game at Chicago Field. I've never been that cold in my life ever since. It was amazingly cold.
Soldier Field, and
Yeah.
they wouldn't have Lambeau Field if it wasn't for the Chicago Bears.
Well, here's the thing about the Bears. I just saw this a couple of weeks ago that they were talking about building a new stadium or moving or whatever. And
They're going
I
to.
said, if they move out of Chicago, away from Chicago, it won't be the same. I said, I don't care who you are.
That's true.
They have to stay in
That's-
Chicago.
Now, isn't it true that
Dallas Cowboys do not play in Dallas. Never had.
Yeah, that's true.
But isn't it true that Green Bay is owned by the people? Isn't it
Yeah.
true that
Yes.
Green Bay doesn't have an
Green
owner
Bay
that?
go- Yep, and I am a
That's-
stockholder.
That was because of
Stockholder.
George Stanley Hallis. The stadium that they have was built on a bond referendum. That bond referendum wouldn't have been passed if it wasn't for George Hallis going to Madison every other week to make them pass it. That's why they have the only stadium in the NFL with bench seats. There's
Yep.
there's not a single seat in the damn house. Okay? When those stock certificates that they like to buy, the Green Bay Packers stock certificates that don't mean anything, that they're paying $400 a shot for to stick them on their wall. That's another one. Without George Hallis, there wouldn't have been those stock certificates because that's the money they used to build that stadium and to keep that team afloat. And then the last one that I always love about Packer fans, okay? Lombardi this, Lombardi that. First of all, I have to ask them, you ever been to Green Bay? Because 90% of Packer fans have never been to Green Bay, ever.
Yeah, well, most people think Lombardi is a cheese. I have to tell you, most people think Lombardi is a cheese,
Oh,
Kevin.
wow.
I have another quick
And that
question.
goes with Wisconsin.
Wow.
We're a cheese capital of the world.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, and that's why they had to have a bond referendum to build that stadium. But the last point that I want to make, okay, 1957, okay, the Green Bay Packers were awful. They couldn't find a head coach for that team. Okay, so my man, whose name is on that stadium, called his friend in Chicago, and he said, George, I'm having a heck of a time getting a head coach for this team. We got 6 weeks to training camp, and I can't find anybody. There was a pause on the phone, and the old man said, call Wellington Merrill with the Giants in New York. He's got a young assistant coach there by the name of Lombardi. Hire him. He's going to be a great coach. And that's how you got Lombardi.
And there you have it.
There it is.
And you know what? I just wanted to share one thing. You know what's even worse than that? This is unbelievable. And I know you guys are going to probably boycott this company now after I tell you this. But did you know, have you ever had Arizona iced tea? Anybody have Arizona? Do you know that the guy who owns that company's never been to Arizona?
I wouldn't doubt it.
There you go. I mean, so, you know, I don't want to start boycotting the tea, but man, I can't believe it. He named
I
the
don't
company
drink
of
tea,
his tea
period.
company and he's never been there.
So should I start
drink
in on
tea,
the
period.
Cubs? So should I start in on him on the Cubs? Because I'm a Cardinal fan and I can tell you a whole bunch of stuff about the Cubs.
We all have our crosses to bear, my friend.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but who has more pennants on their wall?
That's
I think
fine.
the-
Who has more wins in the history of their team? Cubs.
I think the Cards. No, yeah, Cubs do. Yeah.
Oh, so you're one of those Cubs bleacher fans, bleacher bums?
No.
When I was a kid, I couldn't go to the game when the Cubs were in town because the bleacher fans come in and beat people up. Thugs from Chicago.
Nobody ever beat anybody up in the bleachers of Cubs fans. We don't do
They
that.
would come to St.
You know,
Louis,
I'll tell you something.
Old
In,
Sportsman Park.
in Brazil, when I used to go to the soccer games, you know, they call it football there. What they have is they have these tarps that the whole section, and they cover themselves up with this tarp, and nobody can see anything except the team logo when you're looking from above. And who knows what goes on underneath that? I mean, there's some huge fights going on. Could you imagine that? You know.
Yeah, but the Cardinals and the Cubs have had some really knockdown dragons, especially in the '60s when Gibson was pitching.
Oh,
Yeah. I remember reading an article, and I know I might have said this, but one night they had, you know, they used to have like a night where they would give stuff away. And one night they had a baseball bat giveaway, you know, where they gave out these miniature baseball bats. And I think something like, 2,000 people ended up going to the hospital that night
worst
from,
night going. Yep.
being cracked over the head with a baseball bat, you know.
Baseball
The
bats
end of bat night.
and beer do not match. They don't.
Yeah,
They don't,
bat
they don't
night,
work
you
out.
know.
So, but would you agree with me that the Cardinals and the Cubs solely brought baseball back after the last major strike? Because
Yeah.
the Sosa McGuire competition is
Absolutely.
what turned baseball around.
Absolutely.
I will agree with that. Absolutely.
It's the story of that season. Absolutely.
You know, so I mean, speaking of, like what I was talking about, have you heard about what's going on in Atlanta's Piedmont Park about this the Festival of Music, Midtown Festival? You guys hear about this?
Jan,
That-
you froze again.
Oh, okay. Well, and at least I'm smiling. I like that. I'm smiling. you know. But so while I unfreeze myself, while I unfreeze myself and freeze myself again, one of the things I would say, so on an Atlanta Music Festival, basically, the Piedmont Park, the city council voted that it has to be, you have to allow handguns into the park. And this was a hip hop concert, and so the promoters wisely decided not to have the festival. They canceled the festival because they felt it would be too dangerous to let people have handguns while they're doing a music festival downtown. And that could really change everything all over the place, because a lot of municipalities will allow you to have handguns. So what do we do like, I guess we're in the affiliate part of the industry, so we don't really put on concerts ourselves, but it's a scary thought. I mean, when you think about it.
Well, if you have to feel you have to have a handgun to go to a concert, don't go to the concert.
That's
right?
good advice, ladies and gentlemen. It's good advice.
Because inevitably someone is going to get hurt. And the last time we had something like that for real, Altamont.
Yeah, that was a horrible thing. The Stones.
Forever. Okay.
Yep. So on a brighter note, is anybody coming to Las Vegas for LDI? It's from the 14th of November to the 20th. Somebody's got their mic open, so I'm feeding back, and I know who it is.
It's always me. Is it always you, Dave?
So anyway, yeah. So anybody going LDI? Because if you are, I have to plan my trip back to be there for LDI. I was thinking about coming back in time for LDI this year. Anybody? Am I the only one? Can I hear you guys? Is anybody talking?
Why go?
There you go.
Anyway, it's not an audio show. It's a lighting show.
No, they have a huge audio section.
Yeah, they've included audio now, but nah.
Last time I went, it was like not worth it.
Yeah, no, they basically the last time I went, they had this huge shootout of all of the major manufacturers: Meyer, Adamson, D&B, QSC, Nexo, bunch of speakers that they did.
I remember that.
It was a really good experiment in hearing what different sounds, what different speaker systems could sound like in the same environment. I thought it was very cool. I really enjoyed it. So, by the way, listen, guys, if you like olive oil, go out and buy some olive oil as quickly as possible, because I just read an article that Spain is having a drought too, and the olive oil manufacturers are going to, they're going to have a hard time providing enough olive oil for the world.
Hey, human trafficking isn't legal anymore, Jan.
Oh, that's right. Well, I'm not talking about olive oil from Popeye. From the Popeye fair, I was talking about, really, I know it's a drought. I wonder what Popeye has to say about that, but,
Well, I heard you guys out in Los Angeles were making ketchup out on the interstate yesterday.
Oh.
That's an inside joke that I'm not privy to. So David, tell me what happened.
There was a semi overturned on the interstate carrying tomatoes.
Yep.
They had to shut the interstate down because the tomatoes were all over the interstate.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Los Angeles, Rolling Loud is coming back to California. Rolling Loud is coming in. And basically that's going to be at Hollywood Park. That should be pretty interesting. I wonder if Sean's
you would think with the energy issues that they're having, that they would try to limit entertainment. That'd be one of the things which I'm against. Don't get me wrong. Okay.
Of course, because you make your living doing that.
Right. But if you're trying to watch your energy, then concerts, big events like that should be, put on pause for a while.
Well, I'm sure you heard it here first that that's the case, but remember, everything you hear is an opinion, and that's not one of the opinions I agree with. I have to tell you that. More concerts the merrier, because I like selling gear. That's all there is to it.
No,
and all you guys
I
like working.
But
Josh, you working at all or what?
I've been busy like crazy, and it won't slow down for another 2.5 weeks. I got
all right. Remember, the next job you get, Josh, remember, listen to Michael. The next job you get, you call the guy up. When he calls you, he says, sorry, you're using too much electricity. That's it. Can't do it.
Josh isn't in California.
Well, the electricity is everywhere.
Aren't mass events the same as mass transportation? It's cheaper per person for the energy you use than staying home and watching TV and turning on your
Hey,
lights.
you know, David, you might have something there. You might really have something.
Hey, there you go.
We had a long enough break.
Did you get me?
Hey,
Look who made it. Hey.
It's already almost 6 o'clock and I made it finally.
Hey, better late than never. And ladies and gentlemen, now that he's here, we have to go. No.
Got here just in time to leave.
We're going to stay open a little bit longer. By the way, that Rolling Loud, they're also going to do something in Thailand in 2023. But seeing it's hip hop, I'm probably not going to go to that. So that's, that's where it's at. The other thing is NAB is in New York, October 19th to 20th. So if anybody's thinking about going to that right now, reservations are open and you could do that. And
They put AES and NAB together in New York.
I think that's a great idea. I think that's a phenomenal idea.
they'll still only get 3,000 people to show up.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's more than showed up for the VMAs, right? Did anybody see the VMAs even? Did anybody even watch it?
I have them on tape. I was going to fast forward through it.
I like to listen to
Wow.
podcasts. I like to listen to podcasts at twice the speed, so that I can hear as much as I want, because I understand the language and I'm just getting the content. But one of the things I can't listen to any faster than normal is music. I have to listen to music at the normal speed. And so, it's like,
you never rewind it and go.
yeah, it's like, well, sometimes I'll listen to it backwards just to get some messages, but that's about it. So some, people do that. I just want to hear what's in the music. But Taylor Swift seemed to win the big event. And if you haven't seen it, we'll put a link into the chat so you guys could see it. And I would say I've got one other thing to talk about, but I want to hold it for next week because I am leaving tomorrow. I am leaving for Thailand, and I've got I still got some packing to do, and I've got a bunch of other things that I need to do. So, and we've been on for an hour, and so I think that's good for us. Those people that didn't see it live will be seeing pre-recorded. Unfortunately, we couldn't stream again from Facebook or YouTube, but I will post the video up. Unfortunately, it just didn't work.
Update.
But we'll do that. I'll do that when we get off this. So is there anybody that has anything that they want to share that we haven't shared yet? So before we say goodbye to those people that will be watching it for posterity's sake and forever.
Dave, you got it?
Now just for other people's knowledge, what did you have to do to get in? What was the challenge?
I have no idea because I'm in my wife computer and I just did here and there and I said I have to get in. Finally I got in.
You made it. For those people who watch the Flintstones, he's the Dino of our show right now. That's it.
Well, I'll tell you a fast story or you shut it off.
No, can't tell the first story.
I'll tell you a fast story. Eddie Kramer was doing something at the Studio E and he calls me up. He said, there's so much noise in the board. So I came in and it stopped. He said, what did you do? I said, I don't know.
It was magic.
There you go.
You showed up.
So, hey, I want to thank everybody for coming. It's always a great experience to be with everybody. It's just, I love it. And I would really like to get into telling our stories of who we are rather than just talk about general knowledge and news and stuff like that, where we actually could talk about stories about our industry and what we do and how we've done it and how we get started and, real interesting stuff about who we are as people. And I would like, just give you guys the opportunity to think about it. And maybe next week we'd talk about something like that,
If you want to go over 50 years of history with most of us.
Now, Kevin, you have some amazing stories to tell. I mean, amazing stories, just amazing stories. You know?
You with Shimon.
Yeah,
know?
I mean, everybody in this room has got amazing stories. I mean, Michael, you were out with the Beach Boys for how many years?
That, sir, is a need to know basis, and right now nobody needs to know that.
Okay, well, very good. And David,
I was out with the boys in '74.
yeah, say that again.
I was out with the boys in '74. No Brian, Carl, and Dennis.
I was 10, Kevin. I was 10.
Hey, there you go. You might have come to one of or two of our shows.
Yeah. Well, hey.
My dad and Dennis were drinking buddies.
Oh,
So, yeah.
Well, did a lot of drinking then, because
Yeah.
Dennis was my favorite.
Yeah.
Dennis was my favorite. He almost hit me the first day of rehearsal in his black Porsche.
Funny.
On the Warner Brothers lot.
He tried
Okay,
to-
cussed him out.
My
Huh?
dad
Right
was
before-
a 6'4", 280-pound Kentucky corn-fed, son of a gun, and he and Dennis got along like two peas in a pod, man.
Oh, Dennis was a lot of fun.
Yep.
Dennis was a lot of fun. Carl was the quiet one because he was the family guy. Dennis was the wild one because, and the second tour I do with them, Greg, what's his name from Chicago? Bass player. He joined the band to
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I can't.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep, I can't
Joined
pull
the
his
band,
name right now,
so
but yeah.
the Beach Boys harmonies, the Chicago's stuff, and that's how that next Chicago album came out.
And there you have it. You know, David, speaking about great acts, I mean, and this is, did you see the article about Doc Severinsen still performing at 95?
You mean from a couple of weeks ago?
Well, I guess.
Well, I don't know, because if the one came out in the last couple of days, the answer is no. But I did
No,
see-
I just sent it to you like 2 days ago
no,
on Facebook.
I didn't see it.
Wait a minute. You talking about Doc Severinsen? Isn't Doc Severinsen gone?
No, he's still on it.
He's still
Really?
I mean, hey, don't tell him that, Kevin. You know, he doesn't know that, but no, seriously, he's I thought he was gone too, but at 95, he's still doing shows.
He's living in New Mexico, I think.
He's still blowing horn at 95?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
God
You know?
almighty.
And he was never not blowing the horn. I was on the road with him for a lot of years. And he was either blowing without a mouthpiece or blowing with a mouthpiece or blowing with a mouthpiece with a trumpet on it all the time. He never stopped blowing. Yeah,
So
exactly.
He was keeping his armature up all the
All the
entire
time. Never
entire
stopped.
time.
Yeah, he loved what he was doing. That's the beauty of it. When you love what you're doing, it's not work. That's all there is to it. It's not work.
He was great at
He
it.
had so many different shows. He had the Tonight Show band, which he took out occasionally. He had the Doc Severinsen Orchestra, which was just his guys, well, not the Tonight Show band. He had his Vegas show, which was whatever the house band was. And then he had his fusion jazz group, which is when I worked with him mostly. He had the 5-man fusion jazz group. And they went out. They didn't work Friday nights because Carson had such a good contract. So we'd go out on Thursday nights and do 3 one-nighters and come back on Sunday and he'd go to work on Monday. Every weekend. He's a workaholic.
Hey.
There you go.
And-
So
and
you see, we got great stories to tell, and I would like to share more of these stories with people because they are really cool stories. We all have stories. I mean, my story with Led Zeppelin is just an amazing story, and maybe one day I'll tell it.
And he was at the studio.
Yeah, well, not where I was. He wasn't. He was playing. They were playing Pontiac, Michigan. Anyway, guys, I really appreciate it. You coming today. It was wonderful to be with you. I really appreciate it. And I want to let you know that we'll be back again next week. I'll be broadcasting from Thailand. Right now I'm in Las Vegas, but next week I'll be from Thailand. So we'll be back same time, same place on the internet. But hopefully next week we'll be able to stream it live instead of having to post it afterwards. So with that in mind, remember, you make it happen. Thanks for listening. Everything, and thanks for participating. And just remember, everything you heard is an opinion. So do your own research and make it happen, because you make it happen. And have a great week. And with that, we are off the air.
Yeah.
Safe travels, buddy.
Take care.
Hey,
Is
Kevin,
it live
Hi,
or is
Dave.
it Memorex?
Kevin, I got a quick question